Welcome to
Roses and Thorns.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Kelly.
And we're going to talk about The Bachelor.
Week 9 Fantasy Suites with Matt James.
Yeah.
Do you have any news?
I figure we rip off the Band-Aid and talk about Chris Harrison really quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he had an interview with...
Oh, yeah. Did you watch it?
I watched, I think, as much as they showed, and it was I think it was spliced together quite a bit. I think it was maybe like a recap of it, maybe. But so it did seem like, what's his name? Michael Strahan.
Okay.
He was interviewing Chris Harrison, and he was asking him like very basic questions. Mm-hmm. And Chris Harrison just read his script. He was clearly looking down at his script and just reading off of it. He wasn't trying to defend himself or anything. He, I think, now does understand why it was so problematic, what he said, but it seems so inorganic. He sounded like a robot. I
think that's okay, because he got in trouble because he said things that he didn't know shit about, right? And so he still doesn't know a lot about this. And so I get being hesitant to talk too much outside of it. And so I get it. I didn't watch it, so like I can't comment on anything that he actually said, but I get wanting to just like stick to a script and not go off of it, because then you're going to get yourself in trouble because you don't have the information to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it would have just been much better for him to not have done that interview at all. I think he's trying to repair his reputation so that he can come back as the host. He said he has intentions of coming back as the host, but who knows if that's going to happen though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he should.
He shouldn't, but this franchise just doesn't give a fuck, though.
Like, is it that big of a deal for him to not be the host anymore if he's still involved in the show? Like, I don't think he should be involved in the show, like, but whatever. Like, I think a lot of people would be appeased if they, like, didn't have to look at him, you know? And so it's like...
We already know old white people are in the background,
yeah,
you know? We don't need one in front of the camera, too.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets a pay cut or a paycheck for being in front of the camera, but I'm sure, I don't know, maybe he's has a lot of ego.
Yeah. That's entirely possible. I don't think that you sign up to be the host of a TV show if you don't have a lot of ego.
Yes.
All right.
Your turn.
Next big topic is Taylor Nolan and the Washington State Board of Health or something like that.
Department of Health.
Department of Health is looking into the complaints that they've received about her. And these are not complaints, as far as I can tell, from actually any of her clients. They're complaints from people who read the tweets about her clients, which is a problem. I'm not saying that's not. I'm just clarifying where the complaints are coming from. And the Department of Health says that not all complaints lead to open cases, but they are looking into the complaints.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to go anywhere, really, just based on that. It's over 10 years ago, those tweets, and she's a much different person now.
I don't think it's over 10 years ago. I think it's about 8 years ago. But I think if they were complaints coming from her clients, I think that would be different than people who read some of her tweets and are mad about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I'm not saying we're not mad about it. I'm just saying that I think from the standpoint of the Department of Health, if I were working there, tweets would not be the thing that would get me to take away someone's license. It would have to be complaints from the customer saying that she is treating them unfairly.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got now?
Rachel Lindsay is back on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's just good. I'm sure she just needed some time away from the toxicity. Yeah,
that makes sense. Jordan Kimball is an ambassador for Turning Point USA, which should surprise no one. If you're not familiar with Turning Point USA, they are a very right-wing organization whose main goal is to go to college campuses and influence young people to become Republicans.
Yeah, basically.
Like that is their agenda, is just to get more people to be Republicans. It's basically the same thing as like Christians who are like missionaries. Like their goal is to get more people to be Christians. Like that's the Republican mission. And I haven't heard of, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've never heard of Democrats like trying to make other, like organized in a way to try to make other people become Democrats. Like our goal is to get you to like give a fuck about other people and like care about them. I don't care how you label yourself though.
Yeah. Like, should we help homeless people? Should we help people that need healthcare? And like, yeah, we should.
Yeah. So let's just do that.
Maybe not let people die.
Yeah.
Maybe not let people go hungry.
I don't know. Radical viewpoints coming out over here.
No, instead of that, why don't we give the billionaires more tax cuts? We need more rich white people.
Baby, 2 words, maybe 3. Trickle down economics.
3 words.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know trickle down was hyphenated.
Trickle down doesn't work. Trickle down doesn't work.
I know it doesn't. You know what does?
God.
Trickle up economics. I know trickling up is not a thing, but that is what actually works.
There was a study where people in lower household incomes areas, they were given extra $200 or $500 per month. And guess what they did? They paid off their debts. They got full-time jobs. They spent that money. They spent money and like they became like
stable.
Yeah, they became stable and became what's the word?
Like contributing
productive like
members
citizens.
of society.
Yeah. Okay. So guess what? It helps. Like, guess what? That person also does want an iPhone 12 too. So they're gonna buy shit. Would you rather have the money sitting in a bank account, or would you rather have that money spent on an iPhone? Because either way, those people are gonna buy iPhones, and that money that's sitting in a bank account or one that's actually in the economy, which one's better?
Yeah.
So simple.
So simple. Also, proof that money doesn't buy happiness. Madison. Shit, I told myself I was going to remember her name, and I'm so mad at myself that I don't. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife.
Yeah.
Just married a Seattle science teacher. Like,
I mean, she already has the money.
I know, but her goal is to give it all away. So yeah. God, I'm so mad I don't remember her name. I was like, I know his name, and she's way better than he is, and I should know her name because like she's actually contributing to society and trying to make our city better. You know, I want to know her. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, Mackenzie Scott.
Mackenzie Scott. All right.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that I had to Google search Jeff Bezos' ex-wife.
Oh, right?
So, yeah.
Mackenzie Scott. I want to say Madison Wright. It's not even close. Mackenzie Scott. Yeah. All right. Thank you, babe.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I have one thing, and it's kind of a spoiler, and it's honestly not anything. So Reality Steve should stop talking about him because he just doesn't get anything right. So first he said it's Katie that's going to be the Bachelorette, and then he's like, no, it's not Katie anymore. And then now he says it is Katie, and then now he says that there is a twist that's going to happen, and that Katie, when Katie is announced as the Bachelorette, there's a twist. And so maybe that means that she turns it down so that somebody else can be the Bachelorette. Because who the fuck wants, as much as I stan her, it's, she was, I don't know, she was sent home like several weeks before, I think, was it 6 other?
11. There are 10 people ahead of her. She was 11th out of 30.
There's so many other people that were so much better picks than her.
It would be, as far as the numbers I've seen, she'd be like the like lowest ranking contestant ever to be a lead. And like it's usually somebody who's like in the final 4. They sometimes do final 6, like Hannah Brown I think was like 6 or 7. But like 11. Like,
yeah, it's pretty bad. But if there was one redeeming quality of Katie is that, and this might not be absolutely true, but she says that she's been to Taiwan and that it was a really great experience, but maybe only because her ex-boyfriend's family translated for them the whole time, which might mean that she's dated Asian people before, which means if she is the Bachelorette, then that she might actually pick an Asian person, or like an Asian person would actually go farther because it's an actual possibility in her book of dating an Asian person.
That would be good.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
If that could happen.
To have an Asian man as a viable love interest on a show like
as
this.
much as everybody stan Joe, the doctor, he didn't go very far.
Yeah.
He was a friend to Tayshia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to see Dr. Joe and Venmo John go far in not go far, but
on air
and have a lot of people being like, oh, look at this guy.
And then people sleeping on some other people. I forget what his name is, but he was in
Blake K,
yes. He's very pretty. But also, was it Connor? I think he was in Claire's season as well. And they're just like, who's this guy? It's he was in the last fucking season. He was very pretty.
Yeah.
What are you, how did you miss this?
Wait, but he's white, right?
No. I think a
different Connor.
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember there were two Connors.
When people were coming out about Chris Harrison's oh, I don't stand with him or fuck him, and they're standing with Rachel Lindsay, and then he came out with his response. They're like, wait, who's this? Why is he coming out with this? Why does he matter? It's oh, he was on a season, and we slept on him because the producers slept on him.
Yeah. So my massage therapist and I were talking yesterday, and I asked what she had been doing over the last year. And she said she got really into BTS, the Korean pop band. And she said that now it's just all these people who are super into Asian guys, specifically Korean guys. They're very into Korean guys because of BTS and what BTS is kind of doing for sexualizing Asian men. Which is not a thing that's happened in American culture before.
Odd too, because their look is androgynous, which is kind of not the typical American idea of a man, where they need to be super masculine and muscular, which is not what I expected.
Well, and I think that's what's always been the thing that they've tried to make less sexualizing about Asian men is they're effeminate, I feel that's been they're weak and they're effeminate and and so it is interesting that's what those are the people who are now sexualizing Asian men. But
yeah, it's weird.
I mean, whatever. Oh yeah, she said, my massage therapist said that she was talking, she's a couple of Korean friends that said now all of a sudden their Tinder is blowing up. But it's people being do you know BTS?
Oh,
just because they're Korean. So
come on.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, that would have been so much better when I was single. People actually swiping right.
I mean, I don't want you to have had the negative experience you did, but I'm very glad that you didn't have too good of an experience.
Sure. So that was Katie.
Okay.
I think that was it. Do you have anything else?
I have one thing that I can talk about in a few seconds when we talk about Matt's dad.
Okay. All right. Let's jump in.
All right.
Okay.
So it starts with all the ladies individually reflecting on their journey and their feelings. Anything you want to say about that?
Not really. I think maybe because she was first, but Michelle said that I can't wait to tell him that I'm ready to spend the rest of my life with him, which is, already... it just kind of shows how far her feelings are for him.
For sure.
And maybe the other woman said things along the same lines, but I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I didn't write down anything specific.
I wrote down that Bree said, I can't believe how fast it fell for him.
She did say that. Yeah.
And so I did talk, or maybe I heard from somebody, someone that knew a producer, said that a lot of the a lot of the activities and setups of like shots and stuff are very fabricated, are very methodical. They're not just made up on the spot, obviously. But what is real is the feelings that they catch for each other. Obviously, the environment affects that quite a bit, but the feelings, they don't, I guess, like push them too hard to have feelings for somebody that they don't.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I would like to take one step back and just clarify. I didn't go to massage therapists for fun. I went because I have chronic neck pain and migraines, and I haven't been for a year. And my massage therapist is fully vaccinated. And I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not just like going out and having a spa day in a pandemic, which if you're doing that, like I'm not going to judge you as long as like all the safety protocols there. But just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Michelle gets the first one-on-one. And her card, you said, let's get closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Which doesn't seem to mostly matter because we don't know what the other date card said. But do we?
We didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay. It just seemed like, oh, Bree's next. Oh, Rachel's next, obviously. So then they kind of cut to Matt James in his fucking mansion. Like from the
Matteau.
Oh, who said that?
I don't know.
Okay, somebody said that, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at it from the outside, it looks like a really nice house. I don't know. Okay, but he says that he's had a lot of trouble with deep conversations in past relationships, and it does seem to kind of like very. It seems to flow into this conversation of having that he's going to have with his dad, of him inviting his dad to his place. But I've heard from a lot of places that he was not expecting this.
Oh, I didn't think he looked too surprised. So I thought he was.
Surprised. The hello that they had was very warm. I mean, they did the handshake and hug thing, which was, I think, a lot friendlier than I thought he was going to have, considering that like we've heard that he wasn't expecting his dad to be there.
If I guess in my memory of watching it, we only really see his dad's face. We don't see Matt's face. So I guess we don't know what was going on when Matt saw his dad.
Yeah, I guess we didn't see his face to see if it was like a surprise or if he was excited. But either way, the hello that was there seemed like very welcome.
Or I wonder if he wasn't expecting it in a way that like that morning his like handler was like, all right, so here's what's happening today. And then Matt had some time to like process it.
I could see that.
But like hadn't previously been expecting it. So he still was like, surprised. It was like fresh and new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like he asked his dad to come.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it meant, what they meant. So going into this conversation, I want to read some tweets from Matt James.
Yeah.
These are verbatim. I'm just going to read them. Tonight's convo with my dad was hard to experience, and it's just as hard to watch all this time later, especially knowing the world is watching with me. I just wanted to say that too often we see dangerous stereotypes and negative depictions of Black fathers in media, and they have consequences when presented without context. All I hope is that people watch that conversation with nuance, care, and also an understanding that there are real systemic issues at play. I'm so proud of myself for being vulnerable, and I'm so proud of my mother. I wouldn't be who I am today without my dad. That's a fact. So I just wanted to read that because I feel like for me, watching this, it just seemed like a nice cathartic conversation with his dad. And I didn't like think much else of it. There's obviously different perspectives and obviously different experiences for people, and they're going to view it differently. And I also think this is why it's very important that they have diverse producers and diverse editors and like have people there who can be giving different perspectives. Because if I was there, I'd be like, yeah, what a nice conversation they had. You know, that's how I watched it. And so other people watched it very differently. And I know Rachel Lindsay said she was going to talk about it on an episode, I think, of Higher Learning.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I didn't have time for any fun today. So this is my first fun thing. today.
This is fun for you? Like, you have fun with me doing that?
I do have fun with you. This season has not been particularly fun, but I do have fun with you.
Yeah, from what other people have said, it seems like, okay, let me take a step back. I can see as a person of color that whenever your race or someone of your race is on TV or a movie, that you are worried about how that person is going to represent your race, whether or not they want to or not. They could be just Jackie Chan, just fighting in a movie. But then guess what? Everybody growing up asked me if I knew Kung Fu. So it's kind of like when you see black people, like, you know, if you're a black person, you might be worried that if it is a it's a stereotype that a lot of black families are broken. And you are worried that they're probably worried that this representation, whether it is a true thing in their life, that their family is a little not a nuclear family, but it's still like you don't want that to be the conversation as much as it was, and that was probably what Matt wanted to talk about. You still want to, you know, walk that line to not perpetuate this stereotype, but like still recognize that this is a real conversation that some people need to have.
Yeah. This is one dad who cheated on his wife and then started a new family. Like, this is one. It's not that this is a black dad, right? Like, he is a black dad, but like that's he didn't do these things because he's a black dad. He's not a stereotype. He is a person with a real lived experience. And people, all kinds of people make decisions, right? All kinds of people fuck up and they do the things that they do that hurt other people. I grew up, my best friend growing up, her dad left their family, and he moved so I come from a very small town, and this was like the very small town next to my very small town that actually had something. So there was a McDonald's. Her and her mom and her brother lived on one side of the McDonald's. On the other side was her dad and his new family. Whoa. And she never saw her dad.
What?
Yeah. And like it can happen to any, like, people make shitty decisions and it doesn't. Yeah. So I did not actually look at this with a race lens, but you can't not, like, you can't, like, because like you need to be looking at it in that way to then acknowledge that this is not representative of all black families, right? Is that like what the thing is here?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think mostly, I think what people were trying not to have people, I don't know, I'm not sure.
I know another issue was making Matt do this on TV, which I guess I didn't see that so much because this seemed like a conversation he had wanted to have and that he needed to have. And so definitely not ideal to do it on TV. But he also, like, when his dad was like, we don't need to do this right now. And he's like, when are we going to do it then? Because I've been wanting to have this conversation and you're never around to have it. So when are we going to have it? Right. And so, like, I don't know. I guess there are, like, sure, it'd be much more ideal to not have this conversation on TV, but it wasn't a conversation we needed to see. That's a fact. We didn't need to see this.
No, I think they could have just shown that Matt had a conversation with his dad, and considering his history with his dad, that it was very uncomfortable. We didn't have to see the whole conversation because it would have, I don't know. Yeah.
So there are layers to this that we don't understand.
Right.
And I would like to listen to the episode that I'm pretty sure it was Rachel said she was going to cover it. But I would like to find that and listen to it and understand this better. But recording the day after, I just haven't had time to do that yet.
Sure.
So I think we talked about the conversation. Are there specifics that you want to talk about?
I would say, I was going to say something about his body language with his dad, but then it was, because he got real small. Like, he, like, hunched over and stuff. But I don't know if he actually does that with other people because he's just a big guy.
Yeah.
So maybe he just does that with everybody.
He might be used to trying to make himself a little bit smaller.
Yeah. So he was talking about his dad. He's bringing up the point that he wants to be a dad that shows up. He's there for the tough conversations. And because his dad wasn't there, because he was kind of setting an example of what he doesn't want to do. And he missed out on experiences because of his family situation. So he wants to basically learn from the way that his dad went about his family and then do better, saying that you weren't there and you started other families. And he's saying, I don't want to make those mistakes. And I feel like that's a little, I mean, obviously they are kind of mistakes, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's at least how Matt James sees it. He sees it as mistakes. His father also mentions that his father wasn't there for him. So it's kind of like, wait, why am I trying to be a better dad when like you just thought that your dad being not there means that you don't have to be there either?
Yeah, but there's also a difference in that his dad's dad died when he was 5, and so he was not given the opportunity to be there. Like there's a very clear difference here. But I also think it's just like a normal human reaction to defend yourself when you are caught off guard like this, right?
Yeah.
Like his natural reaction was to defend himself. And I think it's a very understandable emotion, even if you're watching it thinking like, you know, he's clearly in the wrong. Why is he defending himself? But I just think any of us would have done the same thing.
Sure. Yeah. Like at least a gut reaction kind of thing.
Especially because like it sounded like his dad thought he was there to celebrate his son, and then all of a sudden is in a confrontation. And so being very thrown off and being like, why the fuck is this happening right now when I thought we were here to have a good time? Yeah. So Matt spent some time like in this conversation. Like you can see like he's struggling with not only his past relationship with his dad, but his present relationship with his dad, and then how that relationship has affected his past and is affecting his present. And I think the goal was to have it not affect his future. Yeah.
His dad does say that you're going to have to make decisions about things I never taught you, which was nice to recognize. And then also he says, I'm sorry I hurt you, son, which is probably, I think at that point, Matt James is already kind of turning around where it's just like, this is starting to become a positive and productive conversation because his dad is finally acknowledging his impact on him. Of course, I'm sure Matt James knows that he wants the best. His dad wants the best for him, but then kind of also not acknowledging like the bad stuff that he's done to him.
Yeah.
His actions have affected him.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Matt James really wanted, was just like, can you see what you did or what your actions have affected me in in a negative way? And then so that conversation started turning around where Matt James left the conversation thinking that it's a good jumping off point, that he has said the words and then we'll have to see his actions coming up.
Yeah. And he expresses like he doesn't think that one conversation is going to be the end all be all of their relationship. Like, it's not like, okay, we had this conversation, oh, everything's great and we can move forward. It's going to be a series of conversations. It's going to be continuous work, which is a really great thing to acknowledge about a relationship. Like any relationship you have in your life, you can't just like, you know, like it needs tended to, it needs cared for. Yeah. And so that was a good acknowledgement.
Okay.
They hug and and Matt, one of his takeaways is he says, quote, "This confirms for me that I'm not the person my dad is." Yep.
Yeah.
End quote. Also, I am fairly certain that the talking head here where Matt is crying, like breaking down crying about his dad. It's very clearly about his dad because like there's dialogue about his dad where you see him talking in this talking head and he's crying. fairly certain they used that same crying from this talking head when Serena P broke up with him. Which is just like, it's just messed up because it's two completely different situations. We don't know how he felt about Serena P leaving. He might have been upset, but not the same upset as like childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Michelle?
Yeah, so they finally get their date. And I figured that after, I mean, luckily his conversation with his dad left on a good note, that if it did not go well, that it would have really impacted Michelle's date, because he would have just been in this negative space. But it went well, and they had a spa day, and I was expecting massages, a sauna, a hot tub, I don't know, manicures, something.
Wait. You weren't expecting oatmeal foot bath, milk bath, and butter rubs?
I didn't expect a big box, a wooden box of oatmeal that I'm not sure if any other people's feet have been in it.
There's no way they have been. There's nobody else staying at Nemacolin right now. Like, whose feet would have been in it?
I don't know. But do you know for a fact nobody else's feet were in there?
No, I don't. I would be much more worried about it in like a normal time when you just come in and there's this like giant bath of milk, which clearly they're not replacing the milk between each person because it's a giant bath of milk. And then like the oatmeal, yeah, they're not replacing the oatmeal between each person.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah. But I really wonder how much this was a traditional Pennsylvania Dutch spa day.
I wonder that too.
Like, what is Pennsylvania Dutch? Because like it's like a blended thing that happened. Like the people came over from not Dutchland, the Netherlands. They came over here and settled in Pennsylvania. Okay. So it is not a traditional Dutch spa day. Right? Because then that would have ancient roots where maybe that could be a thing.
Maybe.
But no, this is like Pennsylvania Dutch. So you're telling me while these people have to like make a new settlement of like building houses and starting businesses and figuring out farmland, they're just having spa days?
They're like, all right, we built a house. Now let's figure out how to relax. Oatmeal.
We have this leftover oatmeal we can put our feet in.
We have this leftover oatmeal. Let's put our feet in it.
Ma, the butter's going to go bad soon. Can I rub it on my body?
We have so much milk.
Too much milk.
Take a bath.
There was so much surplus in the Pennsylvania Dutch colonies.
Did very well for themselves. They just had so much extra stuff. They just put it on their bodies.
They seem to have a silly but relaxing time. Like they actually seem to kind of enjoy it.
I don't know if it was relaxing. They looked like they were having a good time because they looked anxious when they put their feet in the oatmeal. They're like, is this how I do it with the butter? And then they're like, is this how I do it with the milk? It seemed kind of all over the place. But if you're just if you're able to have fun with somebody in this very unknown situation, then I'm sure that is still fun too.
Yeah. So then after that, they actually get like 3 different sections to their date, which is kind of unusual. They get like a time in between their like activity and their dinner. And Matt says that he felt the most comfortable with her family, which I think that's, it's not the most important thing, but I think it's an important thing to like recognize that and be like, I feel like I fit in here.
I can see that. Not that race totally comes into it, but white mom, black dad.
He was the only black parent in the mix. Yeah.
I can see like how, okay, there is a black man and he is a loving father that maybe I wish I had.
He's the dad he wants to be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Michelle talks about her parents' relationship, and it's just like the sweetest thing ever. She's like, they still get into like fits of giggles. They're still totally in love. They find ways to like show appreciation towards each other. And it's just really, it's nice. It's like the relationship we all want to have when we're older.
She was saying that, everybody can fall in love, but what about staying in love? And that requires some work on everybody's end to do. And, that's the goal. Is to stay in love. Yeah. Goals. All right. Dinner?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Michelle asks, so tell me about yourself. What makes Matt James? And he says, how long do you have? And she says, the rest of my life.
Aww.
So she's like kind of just hinting at like, you know, let's try to make this work.
Yeah, I think the way that she asked this question, I think her handler tipped her off that there was something to talk about. Because she was like, I just want you to know that you can tell me anything. I want to know why you are who you are. Like
something just happened that very much like was it pins the tail on it
on the donkey. It's a very popular child's game.
The nail on the head.
There you go. They're like, you can tell me anything, right? Like that's not a thing you say to someone when you don't think there's something for them to tell you. So then Matt talks about how he's figured out that the root of his commitment issues is his dad, and then tells her about the conversation he had.
He mentions he has negative feelings when he thinks about his mom and his dad's relationship. I don't know if he mentioned infidelity here, but I'm sure his dad was part of his life, and I think maybe they didn't have maybe they had some negative interactions that he saw or knows about. So
and I think this is where Michelle listens empathetically, and then she tells him that she sees him as her person, the person she wants to spend the rest of her life with. She doesn't say I love you yet.
And I was like, well, why didn't you say that too? But
and I was like, it's implied, but obviously,
it does need
it's
to implied if you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody. But it's also good to hear that too.
Yeah.
And then they choose to forego their individual rooms, and she says in a voiceover that she loves him. She's in love with him. I'm like, what the fuck? Why don't you tell him that? But she does get to that. Before they go into the room.
Yep. She does. So she confesses her love. And then as they're going into their room, making out, sexy time, big deal. She's finally getting a night alone with Matt. It is overshadowed by the cutting back to the house and showing Rachel. And Rachel talking about how she's struggling.
Didn't notice that.
And then they overlap Rachel's voice with the images of Michelle. And it's just let Michelle have her good time, and then cut to the house to Rachel.
Wow.
I
did not notice that.
I did notice it, but I didn't know how to articulate it, and somebody else articulated it really well, so I retweeted them. Because I had written out a paragraph, and I was like, this isn't, it needs to be more concise.
Well, thank you, that person.
Yes. If you go to our Twitter, you'll see the retweet.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Rachel's struggling with the fact that Matt is spending the night with someone else. And I feel like this at least has to partly stem from the fact that they now put the women all together.
Yeah.
Did they do this for Tasha's men? Did they have to stay together? I think they did.
Who was it? Brandon.
Zach, Brendan.
No, it was Ben.
Ben and... it was Brendan and Ben. And Ivan. I think that they did. I think that they did have to come home to each other. I think that's part of it. It's like, one, you don't get to like feign any imagination about what's happening at all because like you know who's on their date. You can't just say like, oh, maybe Matt's taking a day off today. Like you know someone's on the date and then you know when they don't come home.
Yeah.
And so like I think it's better to have your individual room for your own mental health. You don't have to be a part of it. Ryan touched my dog with his cell phone.
I hit her a little bit harder than I expected.
Oh, did you?
Wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I didn't mean to. I just meant to nudge you. She was just licking herself.
Oh, you're trying to get her to stop for the audio.
Yeah.
No, that was nice of you. She would disagree though.
My bad.
Sorry, Stella.
Yeah, they spent a night together. They didn't. So there was a lot of people saying that, okay, what the fuck? Rachel, like, she didn't have that much of a better room than the other women, but she at least got fireworks. I went back and I looked at all of their like the times that they spent in the fantasy suite, and they just showed the bedroom. I think there was a lot more to that. There's like a whole suite, like Bree on Bree's date. We'll get to it later. But there is they cook dinner, or they cook breakfast together. So there's eggs and they were chilling on a couch. And upstairs was just where what we saw them laying in bed and stuff. That was just a bedroom.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more to that suite.
Yeah, I think Michelle had a suite too.
Yeah, I think she did, because as they were leaving through some doors that weren't just to a bedroom. It was like, it would look like it was a door to a suite, and that suite probably had a bedroom.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing we saw of their fantasy suite.
Okay.
Yeah. So
The next morning, Michelle says, "I love you," and he says, "Thank you for sharing that."
does he say that too?
He does.
Oh man.
Which, like, I know he's like not supposed to say "I love you" or anything, but like that's just not a good.
I mean, he keeps saying it over and over. He needs to come. I mean, maybe if he had watched a season before, maybe he would have come up with more than just one thing to say.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny.
I mean, all the women don't know that he's saying the same thing to them.
That's true. How many times has he said that? I've only heard him say it one other time. I don't remember who it was to.
I've heard it many times.
Okay.
Yeah. Anytime. There's two things that Matt James does when someone expresses their love for him. Okay. He either says "thank you for sharing that," or he kisses them.
I think the kissing them is the better option, personally.
Yeah. Okay.
But he does blow a kiss to her from the balcony, which is cute. Like, she walks out, like she's outside, and he goes, "Michelle!" And he blows a kiss to her, and it was pretty cute. As Michelle comes home, Rachel's still struggling, and for some reason asks Michelle what they did.
I know. She does the same thing when Bree comes home. Like, what the fuck? You don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know. Why are you asking?
Michelle tries to be very gentle and light with her response.
Right. She didn't even say anything that bad. I think the only thing that could be really be impactful, I think, is those times that you have alone where you're talking about or going deeper, basically. Those are really great. And then, like, I think like Rachel just like kind of loses it, where she's like, ugh, like these relationships are progressing, and like she hates that it's with somebody else.
But I felt like that was Michelle trying to turn around the conversation, because like first she answered the question like as you know, lightly as she could about what they did, or she's like, "Oh, it was really funny, we did this thing," like with the, you know, the oatmeal and the milk and the butter, right? Like she's talks about like the funny part of it, and then she sees like them looking like really down the dumps, so she's like, "You guys are gonna have a great time in your date. Like, it's like so worth it to have that time with them." Like, she was trying to like make it about them, and then she saw like how much they're struggling. She's like, "Looks like you guys are really struggling." Like, let me just be more direct and like acknowledge your feelings right now.
Yeah. I don't know. What did they expect though?
I mean, this has just been a season built for torture, so it's not surprising.
All right, Bree.
Yeah, Bree.
Okay. I don't remember. They didn't say what the card said, but Matt James is there, and she does a jump hug, and then he prepared backpacks for them to go backpacking, hiking, and camping. And
I would have been like kind of angry about having to carry the large backpack.
What if it had nothing in it?
If it had nothing in it, then why are you making me carry it?
I don't know.
Exactly. I have no reason to carry that.
I don't know. But it's
especially because they didn't end up actually camping.
Apparently, so she says, like, I don't know, like, every single time I go on these dates, I'm always outside. And she, like, seems like she kind of hates it.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's, like, real over it now. But in her bio, it says that she's constantly, there's not a weekend that she goes without being outside, hiking, going to the park, going on walks. So it sounds like she's an outdoorsy person.
But she literally says the words, she says, quote, I'm the least outdoorsy person.
But in her bio, it says something else. So they're like, maybe the producer is like, okay, what do you think Brie wants to do?
Yeah. Brie shouldn't have fucking lied then. I don't feel bad for her now.
That's funny. I didn't check that myself, but somebody posted it on Twitter. So
that's really funny.
I'm assuming that they did that research.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing is that at least she's fucking wearing boots.
Yes, that's good.
Because she could have been wearing little white sneakers or something, or Converse, very inappropriate shoes for hiking, because we've seen it happen on that farm date where the women were just like dressed like they're about to go out and go clubbing or something.
Yeah.
And then they're stepping in manure.
And I was looking at her boots because I was thinking, like, oh, how great that she's wearing like proper boots for this. They also look very new. And if she is not an outdoorsy person, why would she have those? I was like, did they like say you need to buy boots, or like they bought her boots, or what?
I guess. So I said that they look brand new, but then if you're wearing them for aesthetics, then they probably are brand new.
Yeah.
They look new. They're supposed to look nice.
You ride around the city, not in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they hike. They walk a trail, and then they set up a tent. And I was like, these people are nuts. It's going to get so cold. It's like October, November in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. It's going to be so cold.
They were already wearing puffy coats. Like they were already like bundled up a bit. Like do not sleep outside unless you are properly prepared to sleep outside.
Yeah. So then they're pitching this tent. And I think Brie, probably this entire time, she was thinking like, this better not be my fucking fantasy suite.
Right.
Because there is a fire? I guess that's romantic. Oh, there's s'mores and then a fucking tent? I'm supposed to have sex in a tent?
I get so worried when they do shit like this. Like they did this to Becca Kufrin.
Oh, in the desert?
In the desert. I'm like, she's going to get a UTI because she can't like just go to the bathroom after they have sex, because like Brie would have to go in the woods, which is like, sure, it's the thing you're going to have to do. But like, I don't think you pee as freely then. Like you hold it until you absolutely have to go and then you go.
And that's also like not recommended.
Yeah.
Don't hold it.
Don't hold up. I don't. You know I don't. I go pee every minute, basically. It's not literal.
I don't.
I'm not peeing right now. But like basically every hour. All right. You don't gotta tell me. You don't gotta tell me about it. So yeah. They make s'mores. Oh, the deleted scene. Do you want to talk about the s'mores in the deleted scene?
So they're making s'mores. Brie burns hers and she's like, delicious, which is stupid. And then Matt James comes with this great idea to put the marshmallow inside tinfoil and then cook it in the fire. And then he puts it into his sandwich and then like, it's disgusting.
The premise was good. Melt the chocolate. That's the worst part of s'mores, that the chocolate isn't melted. Good premise. Putting it in the fire, not so good. I'm thinking he must have burnt the graham cracker, because otherwise why would it be so disgusting? So I was like, this man's a genius. He's just created a new version of the s'more. I was like, I'm doing this next time. Yeah. And then he almost threw up. I was like, yeah, obviously I'm not.
So either it could be a burnt graham cracker, or he burned the foil and the foil's chemicals got into the food and then it made it taste something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's possible.
So that was kind of funny.
Clearly. That was kind of funny. Dinner? Indoors. They are indoors.
Yeah.
Like, thank God. Safe and sound. They don't have to sleep outside.
Mm. Is this when... I think they were talking about Bree's family. Maybe this was still at the campfire. This was at the campfire. They were talking about Bree's family and friends or whatever. Okay. I think at the dinner time, she says, if Matt got down on one knee tonight, I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, she doesn't say that to him, but
okay.
Kind of shows where she's at least.
Uh-huh. So she checks in with him to see where he's at emotionally, because again, her handler probably told her to. Mm-hmm. And he talks about his dad.
Yeah.
And she talks a little bit about her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, is her dad dead?
I don't know.
Okay. She was talking like he was dead, but I hadn't previously thought that he was. I thought that he left their family, but maybe that's not the truth.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. So she says that she wishes he could see her to know that she's doing well, to give him peace of mind, which makes it sound like he's not alive anymore.
Possibly.
And then in a different vein, she tells Matt that she's in love with him.
Yeah.
And those are the highlights I have from dinner.
I think this is when they forgo their individual rooms. And then all we see is this tiny room. It's
with
nicely...
a fireplace.
There was a fireplace. It was nicely decorated, but it was just like a bed. And I guess that's all you need. But it's so far removed from all the other fantasy suites that we've seen. Usually you see this whole like living room, and like there's usually champagne and strawberries and stuff set up for them. And then we just don't see any of this for any of the women.
I think fantasy suites are very different all the time. I've not noticed any consistency in fantasy suites, but there is usually like champagne and strawberries or something like that. There's usually something fun there. Yeah. And they did not get that here. That part is true. But the other parts, there's just been so many different types of fantasy suites.
A windmill.
There's been a windmill, right? Like how many rooms do you think there were in the windmill? There's an Airstream. There was in Nick's season, with them being in Finland, like one of the places they stayed, I'm pretty sure was just like all glass windows or something like that. It was like very weird. But it looked like it was kind of just like one room from what I remember. But it was interesting. Becca K got an actual tent. Like that was hers. So I don't know that there's any sort of like standard for the fantasy suite.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the desert one. Which was an interesting date. I would not have wanted to sleep in the middle of the desert though.
I mean, that's like a whole experience thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that's an experience that you signed up for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
So the next day, Matt uses too much butter. That's
so much butter. I don't think he's ever cooked before.
That was like half a stick of butter.
Yeah, at least like a quarter, at least.
One time when I was learning how to cook, I asked my mom, like I was like, how much butter should I use? Like I like put the knife at a certain point. She said, about half. So I used about half the stick. So you interpret the same way as I did. She meant about half of what I had picked out. I think I had like done like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons or something. And she was like about half, and she meant half of that, not half of the stick. So I did half the stick. And then she was like, so I see you didn't listen to me. And I was like, I did. I used half the stick.
That's so much.
But you've never cooked before. You're like, all right, I guess this is how you cook.
Yeah, I don't think I asked anybody about like when I first made eggs. I just like put oil in the pan and then I think I figured out how much oil I actually needed. But when someone just said half, I don't know what they would have meant by that. I mean, I immediately went half a stick. But if it was the first time you doing it, well, why wouldn't you just put half a stick in?
Yeah, I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Butter's good.
Butter's
sure,
good.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, so much butter. I mean, I would probably still ate the eggs that was just like saturated in oil. I was like, that was too much oil though. I didn't need that much oil. Okay.
Brie is without makeup and seriously just as gorgeous. Like, it's not fair.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't wear makeup like when she does put makeup on, because she looks exactly the same. It's just like there's just a little bit more contouring. I think that's what it is.
It's like her features are enhanced with makeup.
Yeah,
like she's not covering anything up. She's just enhancing. Mm-hmm. And it's like the filter on your phone where you can just do like the magic wand, and it's like, well, everything's a little bit more vibrant, and you're like, perfect. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, that's how Brie wears makeup.
Just turns up the contrast on her face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rachel's talking to Michelle, and she says, like, as Brie walks in, she's like, I don't want to see her.
Yeah, which is
like rude.
I feel like, yeah, a pretty rude thing to say.
Yeah,
very self-centered, very selfish.
And like, it's okay if you're feeling that, and you can say that in your head, and you can like write about it in your diary. That's fine.
She said it to somebody else.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Rachel, she asks, right? Like, how was your date? What'd you guys do?
Yeah.
Why are you asking this?
It's like you have these like I don't know, like your pre-programmed settings. It's like, this is etiquette. This is what I must do. And then you're like trying to fight it, and you're like, how was your date?
Hi, how are you? I love you. Just like, she's just pressing buttons on what to respond. And then her face was also just so, I mean, it could be spliced together, but it was just so bad. It was just constant agony in her face. We're just like, stop it. You're making her feel bad.
Yeah.
If this was all true, you're making her like, you know, if this was all actually reality, you're making Brie feel bad about saying things. You're making her feel bad about good things happening to her, which you don't. It's so rude. I don't know if it's rude, because it might be actually how Rachel feels, but there's only so often that Brie or Michelle gets to talk about good things happening to them on the show, and like, let them fucking have it. It seems very selfish to let her emotions possibly impact their experience.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that was my initial reaction as well. And then thinking about it, the blame is on the producers. Because if these women were in separate rooms, Rachel wouldn't have had to feel like she had to ask about it.
Yeah, there would be some ignorance to the whole thing.
Yeah, she wouldn't see Brie walking in. Like, she wouldn't have to see her. She didn't want to see her. She wouldn't have had to see her. And Brie would have been able to just come home and be happy about her date, right? She could just ignore that somebody else is going on a date if that's the way that her brain was able to let her work. And she could at least just spend some time like basking in the glow of the date that she had just had. And so I think it's entirely on the producers, because Rachel can't help the fact that she was forced to sit in that living room and be there when Brie came home.
Yeah. Like, they made it so that Colton's women weren't living together. I don't remember Nick Viles or Ari's.
They weren't. Nick Viles weren't. Ari's weren't. It started with Peters.
Colton? I think Colton. Oh, wait, yes.
No, Colton's were in separate places, for sure.
Yeah. I just said that.
Yeah. Yeah, it started with Peters, and it was like, they were shocked to see that. Like, I still remember like Hannah Ann and Victoria and Maddie.
They're like, this place is kind of big.
Yeah.
And then somebody big for one person.
And they're like, are you kidding me right now? Like, they thought it was a joke. They're like, there's no way that we're all staying here. Yeah.
Just more fabricated drama.
Yep.
Okay.
So Rachel's still struggling when she goes on her date.
When she's walking up to him, there's no jump hug. I don't know if there's a kiss. There's definitely a hug. But there's sad music as she's walking up. Like, they're playing that mood.
Yeah.
They're playing into that mood.
Yeah.
So real awkward.
She's not doing a very good job of hiding her feelings. I think she was trying. I think she was just trying to put them aside and enjoy the date.
You think so?
But I think it was just like on the forefront of her mind, and like she couldn't think about anything else.
Okay. Matt James tries to help, I think, by saying, I've been thinking about you. And then she says, that's what I was afraid of.
What does that mean?
Like, he's been thinking about her possibly sending her home or something.
Oh, interesting.
That's probably where her head was. Or that, like, my relationship with Rachel is not as good as Michelle and Bree's or something compared to theirs or something.
I see.
So she just went immediately to negative. Because if you heard someone that you're in love with say that I've been thinking about you, you would think, oh, that's so nice.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. I like you thinking about me. Instead, she went negative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So their activity is ceramics, which looked like it could have been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. There was like a good metaphor. It's like, if you're going to make good ceramics, you have to have a good base, just like love or building a relationship.
You got to keep working on it to get the results that you want.
Mm-hmm. And I feel so bad for this instructor because the energy from these two, or at least from Rachel, was so awkward.
Yeah. And like Matt knew it. And so the ceramic instructor knew it. And it was just, yeah.
You thought like, oh, I'm going to go on The Bachelor. It's going to be so fun. I'm going to teach them how to do ceramics. And then it's just like, okay, so, maybe not like that. Oh, it's falling apart. And then like I think she felt so bad about like, fucking up this activity, like fucking up the ceramics, that cause she was already in a negative mood that it just compiled onto it. And then so she kind of had to like pause the date and then like talk to him about what's going on,
which was a very mature move.
Yeah, instead of letting it fester.
Yes, which I think a lot of people would have just like tried to not deal with it and then waited until they exploded. But I felt like she was like, I can't keep going on the date like this. Like nobody's having fun. We need to talk about it. And so I thought that was a really mature move. I mean, all the negative things we could say about her, this is like definitely a positive. We're like healthy communication here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think.
Did they finish up the ceramics date?
I don't know if they ever went back to it. They did end up making out a lot with clay still in their hands.
Okay.
And because I remember her black pants were just covered in clay.
Oh, yeah, they did finish up the date.
Okay. And then he carried her out.
Yeah, he carried her out. And she was like, honestly, that was really impressive. Like, I mean, that guy is ripped.
Yeah.
If he can't pick up 110 pounds, that's going to be very disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, everything got fixed. She felt better after their conversation.
Yeah, she felt a lot better. Before we move on,
sure.
He was wearing a brown button-up shirt. Okay. And then I immediately thought, nutmeg farmer.
Why?
Because that's what Nick Miller wears when he is mistaken as a nutmeg farmer. Or nutmeg wholesaler or something like that.
New Girl. Yeah.
New Girl.
Nutmeg wholesaler. Yeah.
And then I saw him, I was like, nutmeg guy. And then it's just a brown button up. You wear a brown button up, you look like you're a nutmeg wholesaler.
That's so funny.
I'll go buy one.
Yeah.
And then we'll go on a date. And then I'll just walk up to the manager and it's like, I have the nutmeg for you. Where do you want it?
Please.
And they're just be like, oh, just bring it around back. And they'll believe me because I'm wearing a brown button up.
That's so funny.
Okay.
So the nighttime date, she's wearing a dress from their shopping date.
I didn't catch it at all. Okay.
She said it. That's how I caught it.
Okay.
I did not memorize every dress.
Right. I assume so. I assumed you didn't memorize every single dress.
And then I thought back on the shopping dates that there have been so far since we started watching. Our first season was Nick Files. And the ones that I remember, I definitely could have missed some. This is strictly from memory, not from research. On Rachel's season, Brian got the shopping date.
I didn't. Okay, so I recently read that, but what was his?
They went on Rodeo Drive and they rode horses and they went into a boutique and she's like, all right, I'm treating you today. And I think he got like a cowboy hat or something. I don't know. Like
he took him on shopping. Watch. They got matching watches.
Oh, they got matching watches.
Like really expensive watches.
Yeah. So he had like a luxury shopping date. Becca Kufrin on Ari's season and Hannah Ann on Peter's season. So the women did not work out for the men. They went with their second choice.
Right.
And then ultimately.
But also on Becca's season, Garrett got the shopping date too.
What was their shopping?
They were in somewhere in Utah. What's that place?
Park City, Utah?
They were in Park City, Utah. And then that's when Garrett got the shopping date.
I don't recall that at all.
Yeah, I think they just had like a silly day where they went shopping. I don't know if they bought a lot of stuff, but they went shopping.
So something to look forward for if we do continue watching the show, that the shopping date is meaningful, potentially. Oh, and we got a recommendation to watch, was it Australia? Bachelor Australia. And was there another one? I think that was the only one I saw. Okay. And it was that they spend more time actually like building a connection in the relationship. I'm like, oh, like that's exactly what we want to be watching. Like, that's what we want.
At least like there'll be like different activities too.
Sure.
That they do probably.
I don't know. I felt like the show was like to watch people fall in love, and we see very little of that.
Yeah. There was I think the most recent Bachelorette for South Africa was a Black woman. But I don't know if we want to do that too. I
saw somebody tweeting like about how, you know, if the Bachelor South Africa is still having issues with racism, then America's a lost cause or whatever. And it's like, I looked it up because I was like, I know apartheid ended like fairly recently. And I looked it up and it was 1991. Like segregation just ended in South Africa in 1991. They're behind us. Like just because they're in Africa doesn't mean they don't have issues with like racism. All countries have issues with racism. Like it's varying on who they are racist against. So like
they ended segregation in 1991 and then it took them about 29 years before they got a first black bachelorette, and we ended segregation, what, Civil War? Is that what we're saying?
No, 1965.
Okay. That one, like the
Civil Rights Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it took them 29 years, and we took a much longer time.
To be fair, The Bachelor wasn't around 20 years ago.
The numbers don't lie, baby. It took us so long. 80 years.
Okay. I zoned out for most of their night date, and I came back when he was talking about his dad. Did I miss anything before that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
She did say that she was worried about her heart getting broken and never really considered that his heart could get broken.
Oh, that is sweet.
Because obviously he could go through this whole process and have his heart broken like 50 million times. Yeah.
Yeah. I did hear her say that basically if he proposed right then, she'd say yes.
Yeah, she says she's ready to be engaged. That's about all I had for that.
She got fucking fireworks.
Like,
and Bree and Michelle know it because they're all staying in the same place, so they know she got fireworks. So they're like, "Oh, great! There's a fireworks display."
Unless it's like in a totally different area, because
no, how it has to be in a different city.
Well, Bree, she had a log cabin. I don't know where the fuck that was.
There's 3,000 acres, right? Is that how big Nemacolin is, or 300? 3,000, I think.
But I guess within that, well, that's a lot.
It is a lot, but like, I still think you'd be able to see fireworks.
3,000 is a lot.
Maybe it's 300.
Okay.
I don't think it's 3,000 though. I don't think 300 is that much.
3,000 is a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think 300 is that much.
So like your parents' property, and then times that by 6,000.
Yeah, they have several buildings. Like they have like the big chateau thing, and then they have all these other buildings and things on there, plus all the wooded area that we saw.
I don't know. 6,000 is a lot. I mean,
I didn't say 6,000 though.
3,000.
I agree. 6,000
divided by 2. Why aren't you in my head?
Do you want me to Google it?
No, it's fine.
Okay. You'd rather fight about it.
I don't want to fight about it.
Okay. Rose ceremony?
Rose ceremony.
The black dress rose ceremony?
Yeah, except for the one that, I mean, it was like a scarlet red.
Fakey black dress.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was purple.
What?
You thought it was red?
That was red.
Just kidding. I thought it was purple. I don't know.
It was almost black. Okay.
It was almost black. We can agree on that.
First person that gets a rose, Michelle. And then second person,
Rachel.
Oh my God.
Michelle and Rachel?
Uh-huh. Matt James has a thing about Chels.
About Chels.
Mm-hmm. It means Brie is going home.
Because her name isn't Brichel.
No. Her mom's so stupid. He says that it didn't come down to one thing, but he can't say the one thing, and just something didn't come up that he needed to keep her around.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And kind of left it as that. I don't think she was too butthurt about it. I mean, I'm sure she was upset, but
over 2,000 acres.
Okay.
I just Googled it.
That's a lot of space.
But it's
someone can
really
set off some
big
fireworks
space.
and some people wouldn't know.
You think?
Yeah, but I think they're probably closer to actually see the fireworks.
You just wanted to argue.
If you're on one side of 2,000 acres, you would not see fireworks.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
But they were probably close enough to see the fireworks. What don't you get? I don't understand.
You're so funny.
Okay, I think that's it.
That is all that I have.
If you guys don't know, we've been transcribing the past couple episodes, and it's a lot of work for the both of us. And if you have anybody that would benefit from reading transcripts, please let them know, because we would like that work to be appreciated. Mm-hmm. Also, please like and subscribe. Not like and subscribe. Rate, review, and subscribe.
You can also like.
You can like it, like it. But for you to show that you like it, please rate, review, and subscribe. That really helps with ratings. We see every time there is a new review on iTunes or anywhere else, it just seems like our downloads go up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Which is a really nice thing to see that.
Yeah, we got a couple new reviews last month, and it definitely boosted our downloads. Mm-hmm. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. Yeah. Honestly, like a couple makes a difference. So like if you have, like the end of your lunch break, you have a couple extra minutes or something, you can log in and just like go ahead and give us a little review. 5 stars, please. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to give us 5 stars, don't do it. That's my request, just being honest. If you can give us less than 5 stars, please DM us and let us know why. Because if we're doing something wrong, we'd like to know.
Yeah, for sure. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Roses and Thorns Pod. Mm-hmm.
Stats? You ready for stats?
Stats.
So I'm expanding our special shout outs. Mm-hmm. So Australia, shout outs to Queensland and New South Wales.
Okay.
That's where we're getting the most of our downloads from Australia. So thank you.
How do we watch Australia Bachelor?
Not legally is the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, BitTorrent. Mm-hmm. My long forgotten friend. Okay.
Shout out to Ontario, Alberta, and Unknown. What up?
Hi.
And in the U.S., Massachusetts, California, Washington, Florida, and Georgia.
Massachusetts, tiny. How do they have more downloads than the other people?
It's highly populated, though.
Sure.
It's like
densely populated.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
College
New
towns.
England, so it's founding area of the country. A lot of people just got there and they were too lazy to move over. Just kidding. I'm not calling you lazy. I'm just saying, like, it's real convenient just to stay over there. I'd like to go to Boston someday. That's what I'm saying.
I heard their Chinese food sucks.
Well, I think that's probably safe to say for most places in the country.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
If it's not a Chinatown, their Chinese food probably sucks.
Yeah, if they don't have a Chinatown, it probably sucks.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I don't think there are that many Chinatowns.
Probably not.
I know San Francisco and here and New York.
Mm-hmm. I mean, most places Most big cities have Chinatowns.
No. Depends on your definition of big.
Does Columbus have one?
No. And I don't think Chicago does.
Really?
I don't think Chicago has a Chinatown. I could be wrong.
I would be surprised.
People can correct me. Illinois is not in our top downloads, so maybe they won't, but they could. But yeah, I don't think Chinatowns are like, you have to have a high population of people who could create a Chinatown. And that's more common in New York and the West Coast.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Let us know if
we're not gonna look it up. You guys look it up.
You let us know if your town
has the Chicago Chinatown. Let us fucking know.
I know, like, we obviously know Vancouver, Canada has a huge Chinatown.
Vancouver is basically Hong Kong. There's so many Asian people there. There's so many Chinese people there. It's basically like a Chinese city.
Yeah, I was surprised, like, with there being in Chinatown here, that you said, like, your family would drive up to Vancouver to go to Chinatown. Yeah,
there's some like illegal Chinese stuff that you can't get in America. Oh. I'm just kidding. That's not true, because we can't bring it back.
Okay.
Because we would bring things back. It's because the exchange rate is so U.S. dollar advantage that we would go there, basically save, like, I don't know, a couple $100, like $100 in like groceries and things that we just stock up on, bring it back home, but also have like a little vacation too. Yeah,
interesting.
That's why we would do that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And also their food is like, their Chinese food is way better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Than Seattle's?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's still quite up your alley.
Okay. Well, yeah, let us know if your city has a Chinatown.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know.
Saskatchewan, let us know if there's a Chinatown somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know Australian geography, so I don't know what the major cities are in, was it Queensland and New South Wales? Yeah. I don't know what cities are there. So, Australia, do you have Chinatowns? I don't know. I'd be really interested to know.
Just go to China. They're so close.
So close. Oh, they're so close. Oh, Australia's basically in China.
Get on a plane. Go to Chinatown. Get some Chinese food. Oh, God. I mean, Singapore is really good too. It's not that far.
Just
get on a boat. Get in a rowboat. Just go.
Oh my God, you're so funny. You're so funny. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right.
So next week is
the finale.
And
do you know, is it Monday, Tuesday? They did not promote the After the Final of the Rose.
I don't know.
At all after. Because usually at the end of this episode, they'd be like, all right, next week is this, and like Monday, this, and Tuesday After the Final Rose. And they didn't do that. They just promoted the finale. Okay. So I don't know what's happening.
Do you want a spoiler?
No.
Okay. Never mind.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can't love you. Bye.
Bye.